This happened about 2 weeks ago. I'm Jessica, a nurse. I worked the night shift at a small hospital. It was quiet at first. Just me and the beeping machines. The hallways were dim, filled with flickering lights. I thought it would be just another normal shift. On my third night, I heard something strange. It was faint at first, like a whisper. It called my name, Jessica. I looked around. I thought it was just my mind playing tricks. Maybe the wind or sleep deprivation. I brushed it off. But the whispers didn't stop. They grew louder each night. I felt uneasy, like someone was watching me. Shadows moved at the edges of my vision. When I turned, I saw nothing. My heart raced. I told myself I was being silly. I was just tired. One night, I found a patient's chart at the nurse's station. It was odd because I didn't remember this patient. The details were fuzzy. Notes filled the pages, notes I didn't write. It chilled me. I knew all my patients. I held the chart tightly, trying to make sense of it. Maybe I had missed it before. As I continued my shift, that fear gripped me. I felt trapped, pulled further into the hospital. It was around 3 a.m. when I walked toward the break room. The air felt thick. The whispers surrounded me, calling like a distant echo. I turned a corner, and my breath caught. There was a figure standing at the end of the hallway. My heart raced as I stood frozen. I asked, "Are you okay?" No answer. Just the whispers growing louder around me, wrapping me in fear. I blinked, and the figure disappeared. Maybe it was just fatigue, but I felt cold. My hands trembled. On the floor, I noticed something crumpled. I picked it up, a page, stained and torn. It was another patient chart, another one I had never seen. I felt a wave of panic rush over me. I glanced down the hallway again. Nothing. The whispers returned, but now they were thick with urgency. They asked me questions I didn't want to answer. I didn't know what was real anymore. I turned back towards the nurse's station, my mind racing. Then it happened again. The whispers took shape. They were clear now. "Jessica, come find me." I felt a chill run through me. I wanted to scream. My instincts screamed to leave, but my legs wouldn't budge. I went to check on a patient in room 12. As I walked in, I felt the temperature drop. The lights flickered above me. I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, someone whispered my name again. I froze. My heart pounded in my chest. "Jessica," the voice was low. "Help me." I turned to the empty room. The power flickered. I was alone. I had to get out, but something held me there. The whispers filled my ears. I couldn't drown them out. I ran back to the station, shaking. I saw the charts again, scattered. Each name felt familiar yet foreign. I gasped as I realized they were names of patients who had passed away. I dropped the papers. The whispers grew louder, demanding my attention. I didn't know how to escape. I didn't know what was real anymore. I struggled to catch my breath at the nurse's station. The papers fluttered to the ground, and I felt my chest tightening. I closed my eyes for a moment, hoping to wake up from this nightmare. But when I opened them, the whispers continued, now layered with a low, sorrowful tone. "Jessica, you have to help us." I shook my head, desperate to clear it. This couldn't be happening. I glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out and laugh, reveal it was a sick prank. But the sterile atmosphere remained unchanged, the flickering lights doing nothing to ease my growing terror. I swallowed hard. The charts lay scattered like fallen leaves. Names I recognized but hadn't cared for in months or even years etched on them. My heart sank as I remembered the lost faces. The feelings of guilt washed over me, mingling with the fear. Just then, I heard a distinct sound, a soft footstep behind me. I whipped around, expecting to see a fellow nurse or the night security guard. But the hallway stretched empty, shadows moving like the breath of the building itself. I tightened my grip on the edge of the counter. I took a cautious step back, heart racing. "Hello." My voice trembled, barely above a whisper. The whispering intensified, overlapping. "Help her. Help us." I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to engage. But a strange impulse urged me forward. The restlessness of the night had me feeling trapped, like I was drawn into something I couldn't escape. I needed to know what was happening, needed to understand why I felt so intertwined with the past patient's pain. I forced myself to move. Each step felt heavy, like wading through water. I walked toward room 12 again, unable to stop myself. The door creaked as I pushed it open, and an icy breeze swept over me. The memory of that low voice still echoed in my ears, chilling my blood. Inside, the shadows seemed to dance. Images of patients flickered in my mind, their faces, their fears. I stumbled back, trying to rein in the chaos. When I saw it, the chart was still lying on the bed. The one I thought I'd put back at the station. It had changed. The notes were clearer now, showing details I hadn't seen before. A name caught my breath. It was a patient I'd cared for but couldn't save. My stomach twisted as the whispers dropped to a hush, waiting for my reaction. "Jessica, please." Panic rose in me. I could feel the weight of their expectation. I ran out of the room and dashed down the hallway, looking for an exit. I needed to escape, but it was as if the hospital was alive. Each corner I turned brought another unexpected chill, another whisper trailing behind me. Just as I reached the stairwell, the lights flickered one last time before everything went dark. I stumbled, my heart racing as I hit the wall. "Help us, Jessica." The voices swarmed me. I pressed my back against the wall, panting. I felt trapped in the whispers that wouldn't let me go. Then I heard a shuffling sound. Someone was coming down the hallway. I gripped my phone tightly, ready to find out if I was really alone. Or if this would lead to something worse. My heart pounded in my chest as I strained to listen. The footsteps shuffled, dragging against the floor. I felt a rush of cold air swirl around me, and I wanted to scream, but I couldn't find my voice. The hospital felt different in the dark, oppressive and heavy, as if the walls were closing in. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice shaky. Silence met my question. I held my breath, waiting. Then, a figure emerged from the shadows at the end of the hallway. It was a nurse, her silhouette blurred by the darkness. Relief washed over me, only to be replaced by confusion. She was supposed to be off shift hours ago. "Jessica?" Her voice echoed strangely, as if being pulled through a tunnel. "What are you doing here?" I I stammered, looking her over. She looked familiar, but the dim light made it hard to be sure. "I think something strange is happening." The whispers. The nurse cut me off with a shake of her head. "You shouldn't be here. It's not safe." Her eyes darted around, scanning the hallway as if sensing the shadows too. My heart raced. "What do you mean? What is going on?" Instead of answering, she stepped forward swiftly and pressed her hand against my arm. "You have to listen. It's not the patients that need our help, it's you." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. I wanted to recoil, yet I felt anchored by her gaze. "What do you mean? How can I need help?" Her expression twisted with urgency. "You're connected to their pain. They're drawn to you. You need to find the source." Before I could process what she said, her fingers slipped from my arm, and she hurried back into the shadows. I called after her, but the footsteps faded away. I was alone again. The whispers returned with renewed vigor, echoing louder now, burrowing deeper into my mind. "Help us, You have to help. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to wrap my head around the encounter. I needed to find answers, but I didn't know where to start. The only thing guiding me was the chart from room 12. I could feel its pull from across the hall. Gathering all my courage, I stepped toward room 12 once more. The door creaked ominously as I pushed it open. I half expected the shadows to swallow me whole. Instead, I found the room empty, save for the ominous chart lying on the bed. I approached it carefully, my hands trembling as I picked it up. The penmanship was unfamiliar but legible. Names and numbers danced across the paper: death dates, treatment notes, and symptoms. And then, a specific detail caught my eye. Fear of impending darkness. My skin prickled. It felt personal, like a mirror reflecting my own terror. As I read on, the whispers crescendoed into a cacophony, each name ringing clearer and echoing in my mind. I felt them, the patients, their weight pressing against me. I dropped the chart, gasping for air. But behind me, a shadow stirred. A hand reached out, just brushing my shoulder. "Jessica, we are waiting." I turned quickly, my breath hitching in my throat. Another figure stepped into view, someone new. I stumbled back, my mind racing. Who were they? And what did they want from me? I blinked in disbelief. The figure standing before me was a woman, her features washed out in the dim light. "Please," she said, her voice a low whisper. "You must remember." There was something haunting in her eyes, a depth of pain that sent a chill down my spine. I had to focus. I had to find out who she was, but all I could feel was dread creeping up my legs like a vine, anchoring me to the spot. "I don't know you," I stammered. The woman took a hesitant step closer, and I instinctively moved back. "You do," she insisted. "You just don't realize it yet." I shook my head, trying to deny the rising panic twisting in my stomach. Voices echoed around us now, swirling like a tempest. "Jessica! Don't turn away. We need you." "Who needs me?" I shouted, almost pleading, as the sharpness of the whispers heightened. The noise thundered in my ears, making it hard to think. "What do you want?" But the woman remained silent, her eyes urging me to look deeper. I forced myself to take a closer look at her, and then it hit me, a fleeting memory, a face from my past. "Amy? Is that you?" The name spilled from my lips unbidden, and the woman's expression softened, her mouth trembling as if my recognition sparked a flame of hope. "You remember. I was a patient here," before her voice trailed off as she pushed a stray hair behind her ear. "Before what?" I pressed, desperation edging my tone. I needed to know. Before I faded away, she uttered, the pain palpable in her voice. "They fed off my fear. Just like they are feeding off yours now." Reality hit me hard. I could feel the energy thrumming in the air, tangible like static. The whispers returned, sharp and edged, clawing at my consciousness. "Help us," they chanted, "you are one of us." "Amy," I gasped. "I don't know how to help." "Find the source," she insisted, her voice growing fainter. "The truth is buried here, deep in the walls of this place." The shadows under my feet began to ripple and twist. I could feel their urgency. "Listen to us," they whispered, pulling at my sanity. The weight of their pleas enveloped me, and I stumbled backward. My legs gave way, and I fell to the floor. Then everything went dark. The silence that followed was suffocating, pressing against my chest. I blinked, struggling to adjust when light rushed back in. I was still in room 12, but something had changed. The chart I dropped was now opened wide, and a piece of paper fluttered near the bed. I scrambled forward, my heart racing. The note had a single sentence written in shaky handwriting: "The one who fears the darkness makes the way." What did that mean? My pulse raced. I had to understand the connection, the link between me and the whispers, between me and the woman I thought I had lost. Just as I steadied myself, a door slammed somewhere in the distance. I shot upright, every instinct screaming at me to run. I was not alone. Just as I thought I might find escape, the shadows shifted again, growing darker and thicker. Someone was in the hospital with me. I needed to find answers. I needed to find the truth. And fast. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. The shadows seemed to pulse around me, eager and watchful. I couldn't stay in room 12. I had to find a way out. I glanced back at the chart lying on the floor. The one who fears the darkness makes the way. What did that even mean? Steeling myself, I crept toward the door. Every step felt heavy, like I was walking through thick mud. I hesitated, the whispers still clawing at my mind. Help us, help her. I opened the door slowly, conscious of any creaking wood or rustling paper that might alert whoever or whatever was lurking nearby. As I stepped outside, the corridor was dark, but I could see lights flickering at the far end. It was my only lead. As I moved forward, the whispers grew louder, surrounding me like wind rustling through leaves. Jessica, a voice breathed, chilled and familiar. Panic surged through me, but I forced myself to keep walking. Whoever was speaking knew my name. The lights flickered again. I glanced back. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched was unbearable. I pressed on, adrenaline pushing me forward. Just then, a loud crash echoed from a room to my right. I froze, my heart hammering. The door had swung open slightly, revealing a dark interior. Curiosity pulled me closer. Maybe there was something in there, something I needed to find. I peered inside, the shadows shifting in response to my presence. Help us, a voice whimpered, softer this time. I could barely distinguish it from the harsh whispers around me. Who are you? I called. My voice echoed back, mocking me. Silence fell heavy, a pause filled with tension. I took a step inside the room, looking for any glimmer of clarity, any sign of what I was supposed to do. The walls felt constricting, closing in on me. A broken mirror hung crookedly, reflecting fragments of my own frightened face. Suddenly, I saw it, a shadow darting across the floor, slipping behind the bed. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I pushed that aside. Show yourself. I demanded, stepping further into the gloom. A figure emerged from the darkness, a child's silhouette. They want to let you leave, it said, voice barely above a whisper. You have to find the truth. The child extended an arm, pointing toward a vent in the corner of the room. It's down there. You have to be brave. Brave? I murmured, fear knotting my stomach. I wanted to run, but part of me was drawn to the vent. Maybe it held the key to everything, the truth I was searching for. However, before I could make a decision, the whispers surged around me, rising to a crescendo. You must choose. Time is running out. My heart raced as I stood there, trapped between fleeing and following the child's command. I hated being scared, feeling powerless, but deep down, I knew I had to uncover whatever lay hidden within this place. As I approached the vent, the last of my resolve wavered. I felt the presence of the child behind me, a constant reminder of urgency in this dark, unsettling hospital. Then came the final push. The shadows coalesced, wrapping around my feet, urging me forward. I knew I had to choose. Then everything shifted. The lights flickered one last time, and just like that, they went out completely. The darkness enveloped me, thick and suffocating. I stood frozen, heart pounding in my chest. Every instinct told me to turn back, to escape the oppressive silence, but something told me I couldn't. The child's voice echoed in my mind, you have to find the truth. I reached out instinctively, fingers trembling as I felt the cold metal of the vent cover. I pulled it open, my breath shallow. Gritting my teeth, I peered into the dark opening. All I could see was more darkness, but the air felt different, charged, electric, like a storm about to break. I had to be brave. I had to know. I took a deep breath and squeezed my body through the vent, pulling myself inside. The space was tight, and the metal felt rough against my skin. As I crawled deeper, something brushed against my ankle. I gasped, almost losing my balance. It was just a shadow, I told myself. The whispers faded but not completely. They hung in the air, fluttering around me like fluttering wings. Help us, they pleaded, and though I couldn't see anything, I could feel their desperation. Suddenly, the vent shifted, and I gasped as I tumbled down into a narrow shaft. I landed ungracefully on the ground, knocking the wind out of me. I lay there for a moment, disoriented, before pushing myself up and glancing around. I was in a dimly lit room. A single light bulb swung overhead, casting strange shadows. Papers littered the floor, and a single filing cabinet stood against one wall, slightly ajar. It looked like an old records room. I got up cautiously, trying to assess my surroundings. The air was thick with dust. I went to the cabinet, my fingers trembling as I pulled it open further. Inside were files thick, crumbling documents covered in faded ink. Their labels were barely readable. I flipped one open, scanning the contents. Names, hospitals, treatments. Some were scribbled with dates and notes. But one name stopped me cold, my own. I blinked, and my heart raced. Jessica Parker, admitted, I faltered. Notes about my past surfaced along with questions I had long buried. Jessica, the familiar voice returned, echoing in the still air. I turned sharply, but there was no one there. A chill ran down my spine. My eyes darted around the room, but all I could feel was the weight of the room closing in on me. "Who's there?" I demanded, voice trembling. Another whisper flowed through the air. "Find the truth." Just before I could respond, the lights flickered violently, and I stumbled back, heart racing even faster. Panic flooded me as I scanned the room, searching for the source of the voice. Just as quickly as it had begun, the flickering stopped, plunging the room into darkness once more. I could barely make out the filing cabinet and the path I had come from. Then, as if the shadows conspired against me, I heard a faint shuffling sound. I wasn't alone. Someone or something was in the room with me. My breath quickened, fear flooding my senses. "Show yourself." I shouted, but the words felt weak and small against the quiet. The shuffling got closer, and just as I prepared to bolt for the door, a figure stepped into the dim light. I froze. That figure had a familiar silhouette, but the face was obscured in shadow. "Jessica," it whispered again. And then everything went dark. I gasped as the darkness swallowed me. The sudden absence of light was suffocating. Fear coursed through my veins as I instinctively moved toward where I thought the figure had been. But I felt only air. "Hello." I called out, my voice betraying the tremor that rattled me. "Help us," the voice echoed again, but it sounded closer this time, more desperate. Panic surged within me. I backed away from the spot, feeling my way back toward the filing cabinet, my heart racing like a wild animal. Suddenly, the light flickered back on. My eyes darted around, taking in the fragmented scene. The room looked the same, but the figure was gone. I took a few cautious steps forward, and that's when I saw a folder lying open on the floor. I hadn't noticed it before. Bending down, I reached for it, breath hitching in my throat as I recognized my name scrawled across the top. I flipped it open and found myself staring at old photographs, images of me in a hospital gown, pale and frightened. My hands shook as I wondered how they got there. "Jessica," the voice whispered again, but this time, it was different. It was softer, almost like a plea. My stomach twisted. I dropped the folder as realization dawned on me. The voice, it was mine. "Why are you doing this?" I shouted, feeling the weight of impending dread suffocate me. "What do you want from me?" The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to creep closer. I stumbled back, frustration bubbling inside me. "I just want to know the truth." I yelled into the void. Find the truth. The room reverberated with the whisper, echoing my own words back at me. The chilling realization of being trapped in this place caught between now and the past made my skin crawl. Then the light above me blinked and flickered once more. Frustrated, I turned to leave, but just as I reached for the path I'd crawled through, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind me. Quick, deliberate steps. No, I said, fear gripping my throat. I spun around again, ready to confront whatever haunted me. But all I saw was darkness. I'm not afraid of you, I shouted, though my voice trembled. I stepped cautiously toward the door. The whispers were a cacophony now, rising and falling like a tide. You're not real, I told myself, but deep down, I doubted my assertion. Before I could reach the door, the light flickered one last time, illuminating a strange shadow in the corner. Someone stood there, familiar yet foreign. I could make out only the outline of a child. Jessica, it pleaded, a whisper tinged with sorrow. Then everything went dark again, a thick blanket of blackness that suffocated sound. I felt the panic rising. I couldn't breathe. I needed to escape. I turned blindly, fighting my way back to the filing cabinet, hoping to find a handle to keep my grasp on sanity. A sense of urgency pierced through my fear. I had to get out. But something was blocking my way. Just then, a cold, small hand wrapped around my wrist. I gasped. The voice filled the air again, this time closer, desperate and pleading. Help us. And that S, when I knew this was just a search for truth, it was a fight for my own survival. I froze, the grip on my wrist tightening. My heart raced as I struggled to process what was happening. Who are you? I whispered, terrified but somehow knowing that I had to ask. The grip relaxed slightly. Help us, the voice echoed again, full of sorrow. I strained to see, arms outstretched into the darkness. The cold hand pulled me closer, guiding me deeper into the blackness. I felt a new wave of dread wash over me. I couldn't see anything, but I sensed a presence, something wanting, needing. What do you want? I demanded, my voice shaking. The hand gripped me harder, as if it could sense my fear. Then, in a flicker of light, a glimpse of skeletal features, hollow cheeks, an apparition that looked both like me and not. Panic gripped me again. Get away from me, I shouted, jerking my arm free. I stumbled back, crashing into the filing cabinet. The metal clanged sharply, and the sound startled the figure away, disappearing back into the shadows. Come back, I yelled, but it was futile. Show yourself. I felt like I was losing control as the whispers grew louder, swirling around me like a storm. Then, silence. I waited with bated breath, heart pounding against my ribcage. I could feel the cold air pressing against my skin, the shadows threatening to swallow me whole. I needed a plan. I looked down at the folder I had dropped earlier. The photographs stared back at me, images of a life I hardly recognized. I could feel the panic rising. I picked it up again, forcing myself to look at it. There had to be something here that could help me understand. As I scrambled through the pages, one photograph caught my attention. It was a picture of me standing in front of the hospital entrance, but there were others standing beside me, two children with eyes wide open, filled with fear. I choked back a sob. What happened to you? I murmured. Then, a soft rustling sound pulled me from my thoughts. My heart jumped into my throat as I turned. A shadow moved across the far corner of the room. It seemed smaller now, almost childlike. Jessica, the voice came again, a faint echo layered with something unnameable. Leave me alone, I cried, feeling the weight of despair in my chest. I wanted to run, but something held me in place, forcing me to confront this nightmare head-on. I could feel the darkness wrapping around me, whispers pulling at my thoughts. What do you want? I shouted desperately. I'm just trying to survive. And then there it was, a glimmer of light. It flickered, dim but real, just beyond the shadow. I could see a figure moving toward me. This time, no fear gripped my heart. I sensed urgency, a need to resolve whatever unfinished business lingered in the air. I stepped forward, the determination rising within me. "I'll help you," I said. But before I could take another step, the light blinked out again, plunging me back into darkness. The whispers grew deafening, words mixing, voices overlapping. My breath quickened. I had to find the truth. But I was running out of time. I needed to figure out who these children were and what they wanted. And just then, the floor beneath me shifted like an earthquake. My feet slipped, and I fell to the ground, darkness pressing in on all sides. My heart sank as I realized, in horror, that I wasn't alone anymore. Something stirred next to me, something that wanted out. That S when I heard it again, "Help us," the plea echoed from the darkness, and I knew I wasn't just fighting for my survival anymore, I was fighting against something far more unsettling than I had imagined. I scrambled to my feet, panic clawing at my insides. The air felt heavier now, thick with an ominous weight. I could barely breathe. What was happening? That voice, the plea "Help us," repeated in my mind, pulsing like a heartbeat. It wasn't just reality slipping away, something sinister lurked just out of reach. "Who are you?" I shouted into the inky blackness, my voice trembling. In response, the shadows shifted again, and a chill swept over me. I felt something brush against my leg. I recoiled, heart racing. Then I remembered the photographs. They were my only connection to whatever this was. I fumbled for the folder on the ground, grasping the pages with clammy hands. The children's faces seemed to glow in the dimness, full of dread, each frozen in a moment of terror. I needed to know their story. I flipped through the photographs again, anxiety twisting like a knife in my chest. One image showed the same hospital grounds from months ago. I stared closely, trying to see if there was anything I missed. Then I noticed a small detail I couldn't make sense of. In the corner of the photo, there was a tall figure lurking in the background, its features swallowed by shadow. It looked familiar. My throat tightened as I tried to push the thought away. Suddenly, the air crackled. A light flickered on the wall, illuminating the room for just a heartbeat. Then it went dark again. My heart thundered. "This can't be happening," I whispered to myself, backing up against the filing cabinet for support. No more hiding. I had to confront what was here, no matter how terrifying. "I want to help," I yelled again, my voice echoing. "Just tell me what you need." And there it was, another soft rustle, closer this time. The small figure. I could see it more clearly now, the outline clear as day. It was a child. A boy. His face, while shadowed, looked up at me with wide eyes, pleading and full of sorrow. I couldn't move, fear rooted me in place. "I'm scared," he whispered, his voice barely audible but threaded with desperation. "What happened?" I asked, my heart aching for him. "Please, just tell me what's wrong." The boy's expression shifted, just slightly lost, confused, longing. "They're angry. They want to go home." Home. The word felt foreign on my tongue. "Where is home?" He pointed toward the back of the room, where the darkness was thickest. At first, I hesitated, but curiosity pulled me closer. "Wait!" I cried, instinctively reaching out. But the light flickered again, illuminating the corner one more time. The boy was gone, swallowed by the shadows. "Help us!" came the voice again, now almost frantic. The air around me shifted, tremors lapping against my skin. Panic surged through me as a new sound emerged, a distant wailing that sent chills racing down my spine. I had to move. I stumbled toward the back of the room, driven by a need to find the source of the cries. That's when I felt a small, cold hand grasping my ankle in the dark, pulling me down. Heart racing, I jerked away, desperate to escape. But then the lights flickered back on, illuminating the room in a harsh fluorescent glow. And standing before me was a figure, a tall shadow with piercing eyes and a familiar lurking presence. It was the tall figure from the photograph. "What do you want?" I screamed, fear coursing through me. I backed away, my heart pounding as it stepped forward, the other whispers fading into an eerie silence. I was no longer just fighting for my life, I was stepping into a world I couldn't understand, filled with spirits aching for release. And whatever was about to happen next would force me to uncover the truth or become part of the shadows forever. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. The figure before me seemed almost to shimmer in the harsh light. The face was obscured, but the familiar aura tugged at my memory, unraveling threads I had long tried to forget. "What do you want?" I demanded again, but my voice trembled more this time. The being, was it a ghost? A memory? Extended a hand towards me. "You know me, Jessica. You've always known me." The whispering chorus surged again but was quickly drowned out by a sudden roar of cold wind that swept through the room, making the lights flicker furiously. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to catch my breath. "Who are you?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice as I searched for a trace of comfort or familiarity within that obscured face. The darkness filtered around us, weighing down the air. "Don't you see? I'm the one who needs your help," the figure replied, voice low and filled with an echo of grief. Instinctively, my thoughts flashed to the photographs, those haunting images of me as a child. I felt something shift in the air, as if the shadows were gathering closer to listen. The figure took a step forward, and I was momentarily blinded by a flash of familiarity, a fleeting glimpse of a smile. "I fell into the darkness, Jessica. I need you to help me find my way back." "Your way back?" I echoed, a growing confusion spiraling through me. "But you're dead." I spat the words out like a bad taste, the truth hanging between us like a chasm too wide to cross. "Yes," the figure stated, the weight of acceptance heavy in their tone. "But I am not alone." That S when I heard it again, the mournful cries rising from the depths of the shadows, echoing the sorrow of countless nameless souls. "Help us." Their voices wound around me like a vice grip, each one filled with desperation. I was enveloped in an overwhelming wave of emotion. "You're not just here for yourself," I realized, the pieces falling into place. "You're connected to all these other souls. Those children help us find peace, Jessica," the figure prompted, its voice softening, resonating with a long-lost trust. "Follow the light." Just then, something flickered in the dimness, a glimmer casting a warm glow against the cold shadows of the room. The voices reluctantly quieted, urging me toward the source. I turned, heart pounding, as the unsettling chill of dread fell away. Taking a deep breath, I followed the light, prowling through the clutter of old records and half-remembered dreams. The faint glow pulsed with each step, revealing glimpses of faces caught in a tapestry of sorrow. "I can't do this alone," I called back, desperation clawing at my thoughts. "You are not alone," the figure reassured me, lingering just out of reach. "But you must have courage, Jessica. You must let go." Let go? My mind raced. What did I need to let go of? The memories? The fear? With each step closer to the light, the weight of everything I had tried to forget surged beneath my skin. Finally, I stood at the edge of the small pool of light radiating from the seam in the wall. I felt the shadows pulse around me, urging me to step forward, to embrace what was hidden behind the divide. The whispers transformed into beats, a choir rising with anticipation, mixing both anxiety and hope. I closed my eyes, grounding myself in a moment of clarity. With a steadying breath, I reached toward the light. What happened next was almost instantaneous. A hot rush washed over me as the shadows leapt backward, revealing more images that flickered and sparked with resonance. Somewhere deep within that light, I saw the children again, their pleading eyes alive with emotion. They swirled around me, whispering in a harmony of despair. "Help us!" they cried, their tiny hands grasping at my spirit. And then I felt it, a deep, unfathomable sadness that transcended the limits of time. In that moment, I understood, I was not just a nurse to the living but a bridge between worlds. Let go of the fear, I whispered to myself, and in doing so, I felt a wave of acceptance wash over me, a simple truth that echoed in the fabric of my being. It wasn't about saving anyone. It was about acceptance, understanding, and the need to forgive myself and all that had transpired. With renewed resolve, I stepped forward, plunging into the light. In that instant, reality fractured like glass, and everything below me shattered wonderfully. When I opened my eyes again, the hospital was gone. Instead, I stood in a space filled with warmth. A sense of peace permeated the air. The spirits were there, surrounding me with gratitude that shimmered like morning light. As I took a deep breath, I knew I had made the choice, to embrace the mystery of the living and the dead. They were part of me, woven into the fabric of my existence. But as the warmth settled around me, a chilling question lurked at the edges of my consciousness: how many souls remained trapped in their own darkness? I would never know how many more I could help, but I found comfort in my newfound connection. I stood poised at the threshold of understanding, knowing the journey wouldn't end here. It felt like a beginning, a thread binding us, whispering promises of hope reflected in the light. As the shadows receded, uncertainty lingered, carving space for further questions. And somewhere, deep inside, I realized the truth: the darkness, although often terrifying, was as natural as the light. And perhaps, even on my quietest nights as a nurse, I would always carry a piece of their journey in my heart.